How achievable is 5 big blinds win rate at 25 Zoom? Achievable. I mean, it's not easy, right? That's a nice win rate, but yeah, it's achievable.
Anyway, listen, it's the beginning of the year. Everybody's setting goals. Everybody's setting their, wish lists, to-do lists, etc., etc. What about you?
Um, well, I'm not sure you need the new year to set goals. I think you should set those anyway. It can just be some kind of motivational tool. For me, I try to set some short, mid, and long term goals. So my goal is basically to keep improving in poker, play a lot of volume, play smart to make as much money as I can, try and keep working on BluffTheSpot, try and keep working on my health and my fitness, going to different places. I want to travel the world this year, spending more time with family, just developing myself as a person, just being as as good of a person I can be. Nothing special. So what you should note from that is that I stick to the basics, right? So I don't do any outlandish things. I just focus on the basics like health, family, career, hobbies, whatever, and that's it. You don't, in my opinion, you don't need more than that. Some people do, but anything else is not for me. Like some kind of jet set lifestyle is not really for me.
All right, listen, you know what? I like your approach in a way that, you're not going way too detailed. I see so many people fall into a trap of like setting some goals that limit themselves eventually. Like say, oh, my goal is I want to win 1 million this year or something like that. Setting some monetary goals because it's so counterproductive. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
Because what happens if you win 1 million in February? So what, you take the rest of the year off and like, what's this goal, right?
exactly. And my first blog was called make like become SNE and make 250K. And when I look back at that, just that title, I completely disagree with that because as you said, if you're running good, you'll start becoming lazy, right? And you also pat yourself in the back, and you may be doing a good job, but it doesn't mean you should not be lazy. At the same time, you cannot just work 100 hours a week and play mindlessly when you're behind schedule, right? So you can just say, I want to. I want to have a certain amount of productive hours in which I play, improve my game, and do other stuff, and that generates me a certain type of VV roughly. And if I win more, that's great. If I win less, that's too bad, but that's all you can do. But I would not really look at the results too much. I would not be too results oriented because otherwise you start changing your approach, and then you constantly keep looking at how far along you've gotten, and you will maybe change your play or just drive yourself crazy, right? Like for instance, we've all done this in the past. Let's say you're down a buy-in, you're in a big pot, and you say, I'm going to bluff this hand because then I'm almost even if I get it through. But
Oh
that's
yeah.
completely irrelevant, right? That line between minus whatever and zero is a completely arbitrary line. It doesn't matter at all. You should just look at the hand and see, is this the best way I can play my hand? That's the only question in mind. Poker or your career in general is a marathon, not a sprint, right? For instance, you can set a New Year's resolution of going to the gym 6 days a week, and you'll do that for 1 month, and then you'll end up not going for 6 months because you hate it, right? But if you say I go 3 times a week, which is actually reasonable, that's something you can maintain. Because what you want in the end is to be going 3 times a week all year long, right? Or the same with your diet. You can eat grass for 3 weeks in a row and do all kinds of cleanses or whatever. And after a while, you hate it so much that all you do is eat cheeseburgers, right? So if you just eat a healthy diet, but allow yourself a little bit of junk food, just a little bit, of course, you can actually maintain that. Whereas if you push it too far, eventually you'll relapse, let's say, and move in the other direction.
Oh, so true, so true, and especially like that statement, poker, the career of poker is a marathon, not a sprint. It's so true, and it applies even. I see it like even on a micro scale. Let's say when I used to go for a life trip for let's say 2 months or something, or three months, right, and I would see my fellow professionals, let's say, do the same thing. Come over for 2 months, 3 months, and they burn out after like a month just because not sticking to any schedules, not thinking ahead, not thinking that hey, I'm here for the long run. I need to stay fresh. I need to stay focused. I need to stay healthy for the whole trip. Instead, they would just so often burn out after like 2 3 weeks, and then the rest of the trip is just wasted.
Yeah, and when I was in my early 20s, this was all easily possible. But now that I've gotten older, I'm not that old yet, but now that I've gotten older, I also don't want to do that anymore, right? I don't want to go to Macau and play 48 hours straight. I don't mind grinding my ass off, but 48 hours and then you just feel wrecked for another day. It's just not fun anymore. So it also depends on where you're at in your poker career. In the beginning, you should be working your absolute ass off because that's when your passion is at its highest. You have the most energy. But once you're in the middle and towards the end of your career, you can work. You have to work hard, but you cannot wreck yourself like that anymore because that really shortens your career.
We got a question if we think that working out is plus CV for poker, and Ponyball is saying that working out is plus CV for everything. And in fact, there's a bigger issue here, that not only working out, but in general maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Like MMA was saying, keeping track of the diet, health, family, etc., etc., so important, because where your mind is going to be, where your mental state is going to be, it's going to be reflected in your game, the quality of decisions you can make, and on your studies, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before I read Ponyball's comment, I was going to say the same thing. Working out is good for life, right? When I feel really when I'm really burned out and I go to the gym, and I do whatever, maybe kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, or I lift weights, go to the sauna afterwards, I stretch, have a swim, do some cardio. I just feel much better. So you should be doing that regularly. Even if you're listening and you have let's say a normal 9 to 5 job, yes, I would recommend working out on a daily basis. Even stuff like walking to work if possible, or walking to the supermarket, just being active in general. And one little additional tip is that you should get a stand-up desk. It's about $500, so it's not that cheap, but it's not more expensive than a regular desk. But since I started using one about 6 months ago, a little bit longer, I've needed less sleep every day. I have more energy. My back doesn't hurt. My mood is better. It's just really, I mean, it's not life-changing. Sounds dramatic, but it has kind of changed my life in a positive way. So, and I would imagine that in 20 years there will not be any offices anymore without a stand-up desk. Everybody will have them. It's just so much better for you. So, if you can afford it, I would definitely recommend getting a stand-up desk, especially if you sit at home a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally, relate to that. I got mine just recently, and well, too early to say whether it's going to change my life, but I love it. It's absolutely amazing experience. Especially like what it allows me to do is stay in, let's say, the office. Let's call it an office. Stay longer, right? Because I need less frequent breaks because I can just change from standing to sitting, and that kind of changes a lot of things already.
How achievable is 5 big blinds win rate at 25 Zoom? Achievable. I mean, it's not easy, right? That's a nice win rate, but yeah, it's achievable. You're just gonna have to do a lot of work on your game. You're gonna have to game select, time select, be smart about all your decisions, and really focus on quality of play. And then you can definitely make that. So let's say I play 25 Zoom. I honestly have no idea what my win rate would be. I have no idea. What is the rake at 25 Zoom? 10 plus big blinds, right?
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I don't think you can get an astronomical win rate just because of the rake. At 25.50, I pay 0.8 big blinds rake, right? So if let's say I have a 4 BB win rate post rake, I mean, I only lost 8 big, right? 0.8. So I mean that's less than 20%. So that's really not that bad, right? I mean, it's roughly 20%. So it's really not that bad if you have to pay that in rake. But if you have to pay 3/4 of your win rate in rake, that sucks. So getting to around 2.4, 2.5, that's really important because that's when you really get over the rake hump. The rake is your biggest opponent at low stakes. That's the way it is. So it's very important to find the right sites to play on, find the right times to play on, because that may affect your win rate quite a bit, right? So if let's say I look through a few hands with you, I'm going to make you a better player, but it's not easy for me to just within one session make you like 2 big blinds per 100 better. But if you pay 2 big blinds in rake, right? If you pay 2 big blinds more in rake, that's a really big difference. So it's very important to, as I said, game select, side select, time select, not play too many tables, focus on quality of play, etc. What's up, Pape? He's also a loyal follower of the stream. What do you think is the best way to study your high stakes course? Take your time, watch every video probably a few times and take notes, and then use those notes while you're studying, and also use them before your session as preparation, right? So the things you didn't know, the things that are not standard in your game yet, you have to constantly repeat them. So write them down and repeat them. Okay, and focus on certain things before a session. If you just found something out before the session, think, okay, I'm going to try and implement what I learned into my game. So you have to proactively change your game rather than just play and see what happens. So, but yeah, take your time, watch every video probably a few times, and take notes, and then use those notes. What is the best learning path for a microstakes player who doesn't have access to solvers? Forums, finding people to talk to that you respect, videos, and just playing. And those are all things we have added to BluffTheSpot, even in the microstakes program, Thanos. For a small stakes player who, like me, who plays on a 50, 10 to 12 BB per 100, what would your course do for me? What advice would you give me? My advice would be to just keep working, right? You're clearly doing something right at the moment. Just do everything you're doing right now, but try and do it better. So study more, play more, try and improve your game. As I said, talk to other people, watch videos. You can become a student or buy the course. Just find every tool available to become a better player. And then it's just about grinding it out. And of course, having a smart approach, right? So more is not always better, but finding ways to improve your EV by playing on the best sites at the right times, in the right games, etc.